A very good morning to you. It is 9:04 a.m. in Singapore and 3:04 in Kiev, Ukraine. I'm Lin Li Fu. Let's get you up to date on major new developments in the Ukraine crisis. Nearly 24 hours since Russia launched a full-scale attack by land, air and sea. Explosions lighting up the sky around Ukraine's second largest city overnight, with reports of heavy fighting taking place throughout the day. Kharkiv is in the country's east, about a 45-minute drive from the Russian border, and it's not the only area that came under attack. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says 137 soldiers have been killed in the first day of fighting, but his forces will continue to defend the country.
Найбільш проблемна ситуація сьогодні у нас на півдні. Наші війська ведуть запеклі бої у передмісті Херсону. А ворог тисне з окупованого Криму, намагається просунутись у бік Мелітополя. На півночі країни ворог повільно просувається в Чернігівській області, але там є кому його тримати.
Meanwhile, over in the Kremlin, President Vladimir Putin has defended his attack on Ukraine. In a meeting with business leaders, he told them that Russia had no choice but to invade Ukraine in order to defend itself. He also said he understands the world we live in and expects sanctions to follow. Well, Mr. Putin will not be surprised to hear this. World leaders are stepping up financial and economic sanctions meant to punish Russia for attacking Ukraine. The UK, EU, and other Western allies are targeting Russian banks, companies, and high-ranking officials with the aim of isolating Moscow.
Putin's aggression against Ukraine will end up costing Russia dearly, economically and strategically. We will make sure of that. He has much larger ambitions in Ukraine. He wants to, in fact, reestablish the former Soviet Union. That's what this is about. And I think that his ambitions are completely contrary to the place where the rest of the world has arrived.
President Biden is also deploying an additional 7,000 U.S. troops to Germany to reassure NATO allies. They're expected to arrive in the coming days, bringing the total of U.S. forces sent to Europe this month to 12,000. A senior U.S. defense official claiming that Moscow's goal in invading Ukraine is to decapitate the government and install a Russian-backed one in Kiev. Ukrainians who fled their homes have been turning up in neighboring countries, with many arriving by foot. Poland, Hungary, Slovakia and Romania all share land borders with Ukraine, a nation of 44 million people. That's raising concerns about a huge wave of refugees rushing to get out in the coming days and week. Dr. Frederick Kliem, a research fellow at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies in Nanyang Technological University, joins us now. Dr. Kliem, put it into perspective for us. War has returned to Europe, with President Putin's military operation turning out to be a major all-out military offensive in Ukraine. What does this mean for Asia, in particular Singapore?
Hi, good morning. It is indeed a very sad day, in fact, a very sad couple of days. And before I say something about Asia, I would like to say that the most severe impact will obviously be felt in Ukraine, but also in Europe. It feels that we here in Asia are at a far distance from this event, but I can assure you not. This will have ripple effects all over the world. And the most obvious here, especially for Singapore and Asia, will be pressures on prices. I mean, let's be honest here. There are going to be severe sanctions on Russia. The EU has already announced them. America have announced them. The British have announced them. And in the end, this will drive up prices even more, and it eventually will drive up things like inflation, of course, right? It will contribute to even greater inflation. And inflation is already high, not least due to skyrocketing energy prices. And of course, as you know, Russia is one of the major exporters of fossil fuels, gas and oil in particular. And this will also impact us here in Singapore. I guess on a more geopolitical note, it will create a situation where we will have to eventually choose sides, something that we've always tried to avoid. I don't want to mention the Cold War as such, but it will create some sort of bloc formation, at least over the coming decade. And there will be increasing pressure to choose sides, which will be difficult for many countries, in Singapore, of course, as well. But I can think of other countries in Asia that will struggle even more with this kind of binary pressure.
Okay, let's take a look at what's happening in Ukraine now. What do you think is President Putin's endgame? Is he likely to stop there?
Okay, I must admit to you that I've kind of lost trust a bit in my own judgment. I thought that at some point Vladimir Putin was just using this as a big show. And I think, frankly, many people in the West thought this was just to increase pressure and negotiations would eventually be successful. Obviously, this has not been the case. What is the end game? I think it is we need to be mindful not to judge Vladimir Putin and people like him with our rational mindset. This is going to have significant consequences on the wealth of his country. Not least half of the Russian government budget is funded by oil and gas exports. What is his endgame? I think he will stop in Ukraine. I still think, call me naive, but I think he will, not least because NATO will now significantly reinforce the eastern flank. We will see something of a new Iron Curtain, I believe, in military terms. This will have a great deterrence effect. Ukraine, unfortunately, is lost for the West for decades. I think he will stop there ostensibly to protect Russian citizens or Russian-speaking communities from alleged genocide by the Ukrainian government, which frankly is a bit much. But I think after this full-scale invasion, he will hold the territory in the Ukraine and he will hopefully stop there. The end game, I think we have to look more at domestic situations and dynamics in Russia than internationally.
All right, thank you very much for your insights. Dr. Frederick Kliem, the Research Fellow at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies in Nanyang Technological University. Now, in the stock markets, Singapore's Straits Times index has opened higher this morning, up more than 1% in the first few minutes of trade. Shares making a recovery after they dropped 3.5% yesterday. And you can follow the latest developments and reactions on the Ukraine crisis on our live blog at straitstimes.com. I'm Lin Li Fu. Thanks for watching.